How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Laying the Points with Luca Rosano. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, coming to you on this Monday, April 18th, Easter Monday. I hope everybody had a great Easter weekend. We had the start of the NBA postseason, and boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, if you're a Raptors fan, it was a bit of a bad start to the postseason as the Toronto Raptors lose game one against the Philadelphia 76ers, but that wasn't even the biggest loss of the night. Through the loss, the Raptors lost Scottie Barnes, who we will get to a little bit later on, Thad Young, and it was said later that Gary Trent Jr. was dealing with a non-COVID illness. Ken Birch got pretty roughed up, and all of a sudden the Raptors left game one not only down 0-1, but battered and beaten. So let's go back to that game one between the Raptors and the Sixers. Coming in, I was super excited. I was super hot about the series. And we already knew the Raptors weren't a good game one team. Well, them not being a good game one team was on full display because the Philadelphia 76ers punched the Raptors in the mouth, and it's like the Raptors never responded for the entire game. The Sixers played as perfect and as flawless of a game as you could ask for. They were just hitting every single shot, it seemed. You look at Maxey. This dude looked like the second coming of Allen Iverson. He went off 38 points, 14 of 21 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3. And he took a lot of the pressure off guys like James Harden, Joel Embiid. If Tyrese Maxey gives the Philadelphia 76ers this star play, the Sixers are going to be a legitimate threat in the East. And I called Tyrese Maxey my X factor going into the series, and he looked like a star playing in his first playoff game under that environment. First playoff game in this significant role, and looking like a guy who the Sixers could count on. I mean, he was hitting shots. He was driving to the basket. He was hitting floaters. He was getting to the line. He could do no wrong. And with his big performance, it took the pressure off guys like James Harden and Embiid, who had a lot of pressure coming into the series. And James Harden, he had a great game. Specifically, getting his teammates involved. 14 assists from Harden. And that just tells you that guys around him, they were doing their job. And I said that would be a big part of if the Sixers won the series. If other guys made shots, and guys were making shots. Guys like Harris, guys like Maxey, Shake Milton. And Joel Embiid, he had a relatively quiet game. I mean, I'm going to say 19 and 15 is quiet, yes, because we're used to seeing Joel Embiid explode for 30 plus. But Joel Embiid had 19 and 15, and the Sixers still won this game convincingly. And Joel Embiid went to the line 11 times. And that is the part of his game that's always going to be there, which is scary. Because even if Joel Embiid struggles from the field, as long as he gets inside, one of two things are going to happen. He's either going to score or he's going to get a foul call. We clearly saw in that game one that the Raptors don't have the bigs, don't have a big who can combat Embiid. And quite frankly, there's not too many in the league who can combat Embiid. He's going to eat. But it is going to be tough to overcome Joel Embiid's ability to get the whistle. And we know how big of a component that is to the 76ers' success, where if Embiid is struggling, if Harden is struggling, they will get to the line. They will find a way to get themselves there for easy points. And Embiid got to the line 11 times, and he went 9 of 11. And the officiating was a big component and a big concern for the Toronto Raptors and Nick Nurse, who voiced his opinion about how the 76ers get a lot of the easy calls. So we're actually going to play a clip that I found interesting with Nick Nurse talking about the whistle and how the 76ers seem to always have the benefit of the doubt for that whistle. Roll the clip.
Well, a counter is we gotta believe that if we're legal defensively, that they're gonna call those. Right? Like, we had a couple times where we beat him to the spot and he bowled us right over and they just let him lay it in. I mean, I don't care if you're 5'11" and 160 pounds, if you beat him to the spot and he runs you over, it's a foul.
Right.
Probably threw 3 or 4 elbows to the face. He got called for 1. Okay, I mean, we're going to stand in there. We just need, if we're legal defensively, then we got to have him called, or we don't have a chance. Period. You know, nobody can guard that guy if he's just going to let him run. He's going to, they're just going to let him run you over time and time again. But we're going to stand in there and we'll see if we don't get a few more elbow to the face calls and a few more beating him to the spot calls.
Thanks.
So as you can see, not only were Raptors fans pissed off about the whistle, but Nick Nurse clearly vocal with the discrepancy with the whistles, with the foul calls. And there were a lot of plays that were very iffy with the whistle, and even another play where James Harden looked like he took 6 steps and the referees didn't call that a travel. So I can see why fans were very pissed off after this one. But what I will say is this, me personally, I was never one to just pinpoint a loss on foul calls or fully blame the officiating. Was the officiating bad? Yeah. Was the officiating at times one-sided? Yeah. But did the officiating solely dictate the outcome of this game? No. The Philadelphia 76ers played a perfect game. And they were probably going to win that game even if they didn't get foul calls going their way, because this was a team that could do no wrong. They were hitting shots. They really contained the Raptors. And this was a team that only finished the game with 3 turnovers. They played a very clean game. And the Raptors, they did not match the offensive firepower of the 76ers. And they had their stars struggle, especially in that first half. I know his stat line will tell you otherwise, but I thought Siakam got off to a very slow start. I expected him to be a lot more aggressive, a lot more assertive in the early get-go of this game. Fred VanVleet was struggling early with the shot, OG as well. And the guy who I called the X factor for the Raptors, and Gary Trent Jr., he had one of the worst games of the season. He cannot hit anything. So the Raptors are going to need those guys to be a lot better if they want to win a game 2 in Philadelphia. Siakam did finish with 24 points, but we need him to be more aggressive. We need Siakam to put up similar numbers to what he put up the last time these teams played in the regular season where he had a triple-double. Siakam has to be that good. And he especially has to be that good now because Scottie Barnes is out. Now, before we get to the Scottie Barnes update, my initial reaction to this was I can't believe this is happening. The Raptors game 1 was as disastrous as it could have ever gotten because not only did they lose and get blown out, but this freak play that you're watching did not look good. And you knew right when it happened, Scottie's going to be hurt. And he was. Now, for people saying this was a dirty play, an intentional play from Embiid, you got to slow your roll on that. This was not an intentional play from Embiid to try to hurt Scottie Barnes. You look at that replay, you look at that play 10 times over, it was clearly a freak accident. So the absolute trash I've been seeing online with like Raptors fans coming after Embiid, sending him death threats, saying he did it on purpose, like that is just unacceptable. Obviously, Joel Embiid did not want to hit Scottie Barnes. Now, does Joel Embiid have dirty player qualities? At times, yeah, he could be a tad bit physical. But in that particular instance, he did not try to injure or hurt Scottie Barnes. That was just a freak play, and unfortunately, it did not go Scottie's way. And his foot did this, and all 280 pounds of Embiid came crashing down on it. So Scottie Barnes had to leave the game with a left ankle sprain. Luckily, it's not broken, but we know with these sprains, they could take up to a month. And that's a good case scenario. And the thing with Scottie Barnes is he is the Raptors' golden boy. He is their prized jewel. The Raptors are not going to take a chance to try to rush Scottie Barnes back, further risk injury to his ankle, just to salvage him playing in the series. And that's going to lead us to tonight's game between the Raptors and the 76ers. Scottie Barnes, to no one's surprise, has been officially ruled out. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, and I try to look things optimistically, but I don't think Scottie Barnes is coming back in the series. The Raptors are going to be ultra delicate with this situation. He's in a walking boot. Scottie Barnes isn't going to magically be okay by the end of the week. He's not going to return this series, and that is going to be a huge hurdle to overcome for the Raptors because Scottie Barnes was the Raptors' best player in that first half. He was the lone bright spot in game one between the Raptors and the Sixers in the early going. So this right here is a devastating blow because you talk about a guy who almost had a triple-double in his first playoff game, was able to score the basketball, get his teammates involved, rebound, defend, and now he's completely out of the lineup. That's going to be big. I wish Scottie Barnes a very, very speedy recovery, but I don't think he's coming back this series. And now all of a sudden, everybody on the Raptors need to step up even more. The Sixers were going to be tough to beat with Scottie. They're going to be especially tough to beat now without Scottie. And that wasn't even all of the bad news that the Raptors received. Thad Young left the game with a left thumb sprain, but luckily he was able to practice and his left shooting hand was taped. And the chances of him playing tonight are higher than Gary Trent Jr., who was another story that we learned about after the game, where he was playing with a non-COVID illness, and he's doubtful for tonight as well. So now you're talking about the Raptors not only going to be without Scottie Barnes, but now they could be without Thad Young and Gary Trent Jr. I don't care if he struggled in game one. That's a lot of points off the table not playing Gary Trent Jr. And now the Raptors are going to have two starters out for this game. And this is a Raptors team that we saw this season. They were not good when they weren't at full strength. And now they're in the playoffs and got to play with two guys down. That's going to be tough to overcome. And now guys like Siakam, Van Vliet, OG, all of them got to be special. Those three got to play like stars tonight. Because if they don't, I would not be surprised if the 76ers run the Raptors out of the building again, going up 2-0 before they get on the plane to Canada. This is playoffs. This is life. The Raptors had one of the worst game ones that any team could have had. They lost the game. They lost their key players. They lost their golden boy. But now they got to respond. They got to be resilient. But the silver lining is this. The Raptors have been a team that when their backs were up against the wall, always almost responded. And I mean, they are going to be without two guys, but let's not forget, they were able to beat the 76ers in the past on multiple occasions, missing their regular starters. They had times where they missed Siakam, OG, Van Vliet in two of the games, and the Raptors were still able to find success. So tonight will tell you a lot about how this series will go, in my opinion. If the Raptors fight and can somehow even up the series, we got ourselves a series. But if the Raptors once again look lifeless and Philadelphia can easily coast to another victory going up 2-0, I don't know if the Raptors can get out of that hole. So tonight is must win for the Toronto Raptors, and Vegas thinks it's going to be much of the same in game one and game two for the Sixers, which is why they have the 76ers as a 7.5-point favorite. They're taking account for the injuries to the Raptors and them having to play on the road again for this one. So what is my prediction for this game given all the circumstances that I just laid out? For as much as the Raptors are going to be in tough in this spot, I do expect them to respond. I do expect Fred VanVleet to have a much better game. I'm hoping Siakam can turn it up a notch. OG can look good. And I'm hoping the guys who are going to have increased workload tonight with Scottie out, guys like Achua, guys like Boucher, they can have much better games. And who's going to get Gary Trent Jr. minutes now? Is it going to be Banton? Is it going to be Flynn? We're going to find that as well. But all in all, I do like the Raptors to keep this game close. I'm not going to say they win tonight. I don't think they will. But they will cover that 7. I got Raptors +7. I think this is a much more competitive game than the one we saw in game one. The Raptors will come out playing that urgency basketball, knowing they need to win this game. Because they go down 0-2 with all their injuries, it's not going to be pretty. And it's going to be a tough uphill battle if that's the case. So give me the Raptors tonight +7. It should be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully the Raptors can prove people wrong and they can come out with a resounding win tonight to keep the series alive. So we'll see what happens there. But moving on now, we got a couple other NBA games that I want to get to on tonight's slate. The other matchup, we got the Utah Jazz taking on the Dallas Mavericks. As you look at the Jazz, they are 5.5, 5-point favorites for this one. I think it opened at 5.5. Now it's at 5. But the Mavs are once again underdogs being at home here, and rightfully so. Luka Doncic. Who knows if he'll be back this year? That's another unfortunate incident that happened to a good team, and that is Luka Doncic missed game 1. It is likely that he will miss game 2, which is why the Jazz are favored here. And it's going to be tough. As much as I want to root for the Mavs, and I think they're going to miraculously keep this a series, and Doncic is going to come back, I'm being realistic. The Mavs have no chance to beat the Jazz without Luka. They were able to keep that game 1 close, but we saw at the end, they just lack that go-to guy. They lack that guy who you can count on to make a big play, to hit a big shot. Dinwiddie, Brunson, those guys can be really good, but they're not going to replace what Luka Doncic leaves out there for the Mavericks every single game he plays for them. And what was actually the scary part about the Mavs not winning game 1 is Donovan Mitchell started that game horribly. He actually scored 30 of his 32 in the second half. So if Donovan Mitchell can pick up where he left off in the second half in this one, they're going to be even harder to beat. Gobert was good in game 1. Bogdanovic. The Jazz simply have too much talent to overcome. And the Mavs need Luka to have a chance to win this series. So it's not looking good for the Mavericks. I'm definitely not going to bet on the Mavs tonight without Luka. I think the Jazz take it again. I think the Jazz win this game and they cover that 5.5-point spread. And all of a sudden, the Mavs are going to be down 0-2 going to Utah. That's going to be tough to overcome. Injuries suck. They really do. You never want to see anybody injured. I don't care if you hate the other team. You never want to see their star player get injured. And it's unfortunate because it robs us of seeing these teams at full strength. And it's very unfortunate if the Mavericks have a quick one and done here in the playoffs, because this was a team, when they were clicking with a healthy Luka, some people have them coming out of the West. I would not be opposed to the Mavs making it to a conference finals, maybe upsetting the Suns next round if they had Luka Doncic. But now we don't even know if they're going to get out of this first round. We'll see if Luka can return at some point in the series, but like the whole Scottie Barnes situation, do you really want to rush back your prize, your star player, your superstar who's got so many years ahead of him just to try to salvage a series? I don't know if you do that as an organization. I don't think it's smart you do that as an organization. If this is the NBA Finals, yeah, maybe you go all in. Conference Finals, maybe, but not the first round of the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with that one, but that's my prediction for tonight. I got the Jazz covering 5, 5.5, whatever you get it at, and I think they go up 2-0 over the Mavericks. Let's go to the other game 2 tonight. And hopefully we get good basketball tonight, because I know we've seen some blowouts, but other games have been really darn good. Like the Nets game yesterday was amazing. We're going to talk more about the Nets and Celtics series when we get into our predictions for game 2 later on this week. But let's go with a game that was a blowout in game 1. And I'm hoping this game's a lot better. Nuggets Warriors. Man, that meme that went viral after this game, or whatever it was, a video, I think, of Nikola Jokic is looking absolutely spent. Let's see if we could cue that up. That's like you trying to carry your group in a class project when nobody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and you're the only guy doing your part and their parts. Nikola Jokic needs some damn help, man. And the Nuggets have no shot in this series if Jokic is going to have to do everything on his own. He's not that guy who's going to be Michael Jordan and just wheel his team to victory when other guys aren't coming through. And the Warriors, they are just too damn good. And they looked very scary in that game 1. Steph came off the bench, but how about Jordan Poole, man? If Maxey didn't steal the show of young talent on Saturday, Jordan Poole definitely stole the show. 30 points for Poole. He was the main guy in this one, easing the workload of Curry. And the Warriors, who are healthy, who do have their big 3, got the easy game 1 victory. The Nuggets have no shot in this series. unless Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. can miraculously come back, I never had them winning the series. I'm shocked people had Nuggets in 6 or 7 or whatever it was. You're not going to beat a fully healthy Warriors team, especially when you got one guy on the other end and no help around him, no consistent help around him. And to no one's surprise, the Warriors are 7-point favorites tonight. I would lay that in a heartbeat. I think we see another blowout win for the Warriors. And this is a team that you got to let go for because they're only going to get better. As Steph continues to get healthy, Jordan Poole gains more confidence. Klay Thompson gets back into the rhythm. Green is there. People tend to forget this Warriors team, they are formidable when their big three is healthy. This is a team that did win a championship with no KD and with Steph, Klay, and Green. But now they got a boatload of young talent surrounding those three veteran star players in guys like Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, getting his first, I want to say, real taste of the postseason because when he made it last time with the T-Wolves, that was a quick exit. Wiggins is going to be asked to do more on this team in his role as being that role player because you know he's going to get good looks when other guys are commanding attention. The Warriors got so many guys that can beat you. And I will say this as it pertains to the Western Conference. Let's fast forward it to the Western Conference Finals because I'd be damned if we don't get a Suns-Warriors Western Conference Finals matchup. It is inevitable. With all due respect to the other teams, nobody's beating the Suns in a 7-game series. Look what they did to the Pelicans in Game 1. And no one's beating the Warriors in a 7-game series. People thought that team could be the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies might not even get out of the first round. And the Timberwolves could be that surprise team, but they're not beating the healthy Warriors team in a 7-game series. So the Western Conference, to me, the playoff picture, it's already determined. It's going to be Warriors-Suns. And whoever wins that bloodbath of a 7-game series will represent the West in the NBA Finals. These games leading up to that, they're just going to be tune-up games. It's going to be, can you do what I can do? Can you up that? Warriors showing up. Then the Suns doing their thing. Because to me, those two teams are meeting in the Western Conference Finals. There's no other team in the West that moves me of being a team that can dethrone one of those two teams. I thought that team could maybe be Dallas, but Luka's not healthy. So those are the two teams that I think they're going to be there, and it's only a matter of time. So who's going to win that series? I don't even know. That's going to be a coin flip once we get it, but that's my bold prediction. Fast forward the Western Conference playoffs because that's our Western Conference Finals, and I don't think we get anything else. And if we do, I would be genuinely shocked because these two teams are on a full-blown collision course. In the East, much different. A lot more parity. You don't know what the hell is going to happen. I can make a case for 3 or 4 teams getting out of the East if they get hot. But in the Western Conference, I got my eyes on 2 teams, and one of those 2 teams will make it out of the West. So just to recap my picks for tonight, if you do want to bet on them, I've been pretty hot lately. I got the Raptors +7. I think they keep the game close. I don't have them winning the game, but they will cover that 7-point spread. I got the Jazz -5.5. I'm laying the points with them. I think they cruise to a Game 2 victory. And then I got the Warriors in a blowout win. I think they blow out the Nuggets again. I really do not like the Nuggets' chances, not only in tonight's game, but for the series. Give me the Warriors -7. I'm laying the points with them. And that is my 3-game parlay, if you will, for tonight in the NBA as the playoffs. They're heating up. Love playoff basketball. Love this time of year. So much to talk about. So many storylines. But what I'm going to be focused on tonight, what I'm going to have my eyes on, Raptors-Sixers Game 2. Which version of the Raptors are we going to get? We're going to find out, and you better believe we're going to talk about it tomorrow once we find out what happens tonight in Game 2. But that's going to conclude today's show. As always, thank you so much for watching. We live stream every day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitter, Parlay TV, YouTube, you name it. You can follow this podcast or catch this podcast on Apple iTunes. Leave us a nice 5-star review. And that is it. This has been Laying the Points with Luca Rosano, with your host, Luca Rosano. Thank you for watching. Good luck with your picks. and I'll catch you all again tomorrow.